Welcome to Project 3550. This is episode number 20. So I would love to subtitle this episode 22 weeks out. The Muscle Mayhem was the show I was targeting, but plans have changed. So I really don't know how many weeks out I am from my first show. Some plans have changed. My sister-in-law, who basically is the godmother of my son, is getting married on the same day as the Muscle Mayhem. So, of course, naturally, I'm not going to miss that wedding. We love her to death, and there's no way, we're going to miss that special day. So plans have changed as far as the bodybuilding world is concerned. And I really don't know exactly what show, as far as the first show, I'm going to be targeting. I'm kind of looking more like, maybe not until October I'll be getting on stage. So, possibly the WMBF Washington State. And if I do that show, that would basically qualify me for the WMBF Worlds, which is in November. So that just, in a sense, gives me more time. And I think, when it comes to contest prep, having time is definitely a luxury. It kind of changes, my overall approach and trajectory with this prep. I was, targeting that Muscle Mayhem, which would have been about 22 weeks away. So, where I'm weighing now, about 190 pounds, I'm about 20 pounds over stage weight. So I would be, pushing more or less trying to aim for that 1 pound per week loss. But now, potentially, if I'm 35 weeks out, maybe 40 weeks out from Worlds, that pace can slow down a bit. And that just allows a lot more flexibility with the approach. You can allow, maybe, more frequent refeeds to help with recovery, to help with, keeping my performance elevated. So that's a positive. Also, it's going to allow a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the social aspect, date nights with the wife, holidays, birthdays, that type of thing. Or, just in a sense, when I'm feeling maybe a little bit run down and I need a little bit of a boost, I can auto-regulate and maybe eat, a few more calories here and there to keep that training really thriving. And that's one thing that I've noticed, with this prep thus far. I know it sounds like it's been a long prep. I started way back in July at 205, 206 pounds. And now I'm touching down on 190. So I've only lost about 16 pounds, since I first started, and the pace on average has been about a half a pound of loss per week, but that hasn't always been linear. I've had some weeks where more out in front of that pace, like maybe losing a pound off, but then there's been other weeks where I haven't, lost anything, and I even had some weeks where I've actually gained some weight. So I've kind of been in and out as far as a deficit and surplus. And to be honest, I think it's had a positive impact on, the product that I'm seeing. So, as you guys know, Project 3550, the 35 stands for the number of training years that I have under my belt, and the number 50, that's going to be the age I'm going to be competing at. So at this stage in my career, I'm really liking the way I'm looking. I'm optimistic that I might be able to attain my best ever physique. I just look like there's a little bit more size now than there was, let's say, in 2019, the last I competed. And my training is going really well. And as far as my body is concerned, there's some aches and pains, but I would say the aches and pains are a little less than what they were back in 2019. So overall, I really like the way I'm looking. I like the way I'm feeling. And the approach, again, having more time on my side now, it really can kind of just slow things down a little bit to where, in a sense, I can utilize my experience level that much more. Like the pace is slowed, things are slowed down. And, for me, that type of environment, it's easier to assess what's truly going on and to make the best decisions to keep my progress moving the way that I want it to move. And that is to be, very efficient. I'm not looking to try to go from point A to point B as fast as I can. And with contest prep, you don't want to have protocols overly invasive. Early on in the process, you can probably get away with it because there's more available energy on your body. But as you get leaner, as you get deeper into the prep, you definitely don't want to, let's say, go too quickly. Otherwise, the end product starts to look a bit depleted and run down. So I'm really trying to make it a point with this prep to have a good handle on the supply and demand aspect of things, like making sure that fat loss isn't overly abundant, making sure that my training is always thriving, I'm elevating performance, and that I'm recovering, extremely well. Approach the setup as far as training is concerned. I'm still riding the 4 days per week, training upper lower twice per week. So upper lower, take a day off, upper lower again, take a couple of days off. So for me, having those rest days, especially that one rest day, split in the middle there, that really does help, to keep my performance elevated. So I think, when it comes to, that supply and demand aspect, I think people don't really kind of look at what we're doing from that perspective. Often it's like, I need to do more volume, I need to do more training, or I need to, diet harder and diet faster. And what they don't realize is that the overall demand gets really escalated and it starts to outpace the supply, the food level, the sleep, the rest days. Like, you're just getting too far out in front with that demand that, you start to see, the negative results of that, just a lot of fatigue, aches and pains, a physique that's not looking, let's say, as vibrant as it once did. So, you really have to, think about the pace, and definitely, making sure, again, that, you have a very good balance on that supply and demand. So that's why, for me, personally, the supply, I try not to my calories way too low for too long, making sure that I am taking, one refeed, 2 refeeds a week, and on occasion I might sprinkle in maybe even a third or a fourth if I feel like I need a good pick-me-up. Kind of like the holidays. I took 2 weeks away from dieting, and I actually gained about 4, 5, 6 pounds back. And some people might think of that as like, you're sliding, like it's a negative, like you're putting weight on, so therefore you're regressing. But in a sense, what it did was, recharge the batteries. So from the dieting up to that point, of course, naturally, you're going to see a bit of fatigue kind of escalate with that. So that 2-week break kind of just brought all that fatigue down, recharged the batteries, and now it's helped me to the point of where I am now. So I've gotten that weight off, and now I'm actually a little bit leaner now than I was prior to that break. But my physique right now is looking superior than it did right before the holiday break. So again, whether it's on a more of a grand scale or an acute scale, I really try to take a step back and think about, the overall supply and demand. And not try to, keep myself, so closed-minded. I'm only looking at the here and now. Like, it's important to kind of, again, take a step back and look through a wider lens. So, again, the timeline is a little bit different now. And in a sense, I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Because my mentality now is kind of back to where it was in 2014. In 2014, the theme of that prep was chase the physique. And what I mean by that was, I wasn't chasing down specific dates or a specific show. I was like, okay, I'm just going to prep, get my body where it's in shape. And once I do that, then I'm going to start targeting shows. And that's more or less where I'm at right now. It's like, okay, got plenty of time here. Let's get the body right. Let's get myself, where I'm looking the part. And once I look the part, okay, now I got this show, that show, and this show maybe to do. So it's just, for me anyways, at this point, it's taken a little bit of a weight off my shoulder of trying to basically stay in line with a very specific timeline. So now there's just a bit more flexibility there, and it's let a little bit of that stress kind of it's just fallen off my shoulders a little bit. So yeah, I'm in a great place right now. Again, at 190 pounds, I like the way this physique is looking at 190. And also I kind of think of it as like, okay, I'm almost a half a century old. I have, going into my 35th year of training, a lot of miles there, but yet my physique is looking the part. I think, if you guys are listening to this or watching, I should say, and, maybe you're on the younger side, less experienced, especially as a natural bodybuilder, you have a long shelf life. Like you have 1, 2, 3 decades or more of progress ahead of you. Yes, it's going to slow over time, but there's still potential to make progress. So the patience thing, I know it's probably not talked about as much as maybe it should be, but if you look through a lens that has a lot of patience versus, just looking at, hey, what, I got to get all my progress within the first 5 years and then think it dies out after that. That's not the case. You need to take a big step back, look through a much wider lens, and just realize that there's a lot of time to fulfill your potential. And the thing is you're probably never truly going to fully know what your potential is. Like I'm still figuring that out. I'm still feel like there's more room to make progress, and I'm in year 35. So, I know inevitably, it's going to end. And when it does end, then I'll know for certain, okay, I've tapped my full potential. But if you're in year 5 of your journey, year 10, year 1, like you have a lot of time ahead of you. And there's more to progress than just building muscle. There's dieting better, right? Like learning how to diet more strategically in a way where you retain more muscle mass. There's progress to be had when it comes to the posing side of things. There's progress to be had with peaking. There's progress to be had with, in a sense, while you're going through this crazy ass sport called bodybuilding, we're learning how to balance that with life, and, basically integrating it in a way where, the people around you, are being thought of first. So there's just so many versions of progress that you can strive for, that it's not always about just building muscle or what have you, and thinking that you're going to be able to master this craft in 1 year or even 5 years. Like I'm still trying to figure that shit out, and I'm in year 35, and that's what I love about my journey, is that I know there's room for improvement, and that's what keeps me going. Again, whether it's trying to put more muscle on, getting leaner than last time, and treating my family better this time around. Like there's just so much room for improvement that, again, is super, super motivating, and I love it. And that's why I keep doing it. And that's why I share the journey and pay my experiences forward. So hopefully, these videos can help at least one of you guys out. But I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.